First, before I start, I would like to say hello to everybody. I'm really honored to be here today with you. I hope that not just now, but maybe also in between, maybe we can catch up to talk about some basketball topics. This is a good opportunity to exchange some knowledge, some experience from our countries, from our practices. And also, during my presentation, if you will have any questions, if you have any thoughts, doubts, you can also ask, and we can also speak about that. Today, I will speak about teaching basketball from 10 to 14 years. I will go through curriculum, and I will try to show you a little bit of the system, how we try to do it in Slovenia, and how I also try to do it when I work with young kids. First thing, we must be aware that working with young players, or to rather say with children, it is very important and is crucial for development of basketball in each country, and especially to develop basketball if you want to compete in a higher level. Because these are basically the first steps of the serious basketball. I would say already the serious basketball, even though in all aspects there must be involved elements of fun. Even I would use one sentence that one of my senior players always says before the games, maybe Friday after the last practice, he always say, "Guys, we did the hard work during the week. Tomorrow is the game, let's have fun." And I want to emphasize now this to all the practices and to all the games also. So don't forget that. Yes, the things must be serious. Yes, we must know why we are there, why we're working. And especially with those young kids, we must be aware that we are not just coaches, but we are teachers first. Because we must teach them different aspects of basketball and life. So from technical aspect, from just individual things, from starting how to run to maybe some more complicated things, and also, as I said, other aspects of basketball like psychology, how to work with other people. And we must be aware that we as the coaches, sometimes we spend more time with those kids than maybe parents. You know, first they are in school, they immediately after the school they come to practice. When they go home, maybe parents are pick them up, maybe not. They go back, they go to home, they go into the room, they do the homework, and then it's another day. And every day we are spending with them maybe 2 hours, maybe 1 hour, it depends how many practices you have. The next thing that is important, it's not that we just work, but the quality of work, and that we have a systematical process of working. So that every time we know what we are doing. So when you go to the practice, you plan practices. You know what is your goal to achieve in this year, but then you also must have goal for each practice for itself. So that after every practice, every player will go from that practice better. Two main goals with working with youth that we try to follow in Slovenia, and I also try to follow, is one that we try to bring as many kids into the basketball. Because that means if we will have a wide base of kids involved in basketball, we will also have better options to later choose those that have better potential to play on a higher level. And it's not just good because of that, what I said right now, to choose the better and quality players to play on a higher level, but also to get people into the basketball that will in future maybe will be our fans, maybe our potential sponsors, journalists, or whoever. So you know all of you who works in basketball, it's always good to have people also support people behind you. Not just those players and coaches that are working every day in the gym, but also others. Yeah, as I said, especially for develop individually, the systematical work is very important. And for the last thing, for the introduction, that we are aware that children are the most vulnerable human beings, but on the other hand, capable a lot of enthusiasm that can stay with them for the whole life. And this is what I said already earlier. So when we start working with those younger kids, we are the one that will make them stay in basketball, to get them involved in basketball, and maybe they stay there the whole of their life, like maybe some of coaches did with us. That's why we probably are here, because we all love basketball. Or we can be those that can, for example, start the season with 20 players and finish the season with 10 players. What for me, it's a very, very bad thing, especially working with those age groups. So first, I'll go through the basic long-term goals for under 10 and from under 10 to under 14 players. So first thing is that from all players that we select those that are most talented, that are taller than average, that are fast, coordinated, and that have feel for the game. So this is only impossible if we have a good base. Then we can also choose those guys. And we also must be aware that we must fight for everybody. Especially, for example, the country that I'm coming from, we are a really small country. We have like 2 million people. And we have a lot of different sports that are competing for all of those players. And for example, in generation 94, they made some research. There are only 17 guys taller than 2 meters. And now you can imagine there is handball, there is volleyball, there is swimming, there is tennis, there is athletics, and everybody are fighting for those guys. Even in soccer right now, they try to have big guys also. So we are those that must fight for those guys and to select them. So the coach's job is not just to be there in the gym and to work with the players that are coming there, but to go out there, go to outside courts, go to schools and see and recognize those and select them then for us, and then involve us in a process of coaching. With systematical and for the age group appropriate practice, develop positive values, their personality, physical capabilities, competitive nature, and winning mentality. I mean, about that topic, we hear quite a lot things earlier, so I won't go into this deep, but it is one of the most important aspects. So especially what is important? Competitive nature, winning mentality. You know, sometimes, yes, it is good if we go and everything is good. And especially now in this world, you know, everybody wants that doesn't matter if you win or you lose, it's good. Yes, in some way it is, but only if you did the best that you can. So that they know the difference between losing, but do everything as you can. So do the hard job. So when you finish the game, that you can sit down and say, I couldn't do anything more. They win because they were better. So you can then say, yes, it was a good job, and yes, we win. We played to win, but unfortunately today we were short. But on the other hand, you have too many times that it doesn't matter. Even if they play hard, even if they don't play hard, everything is good job, good job. We must feel that difference between what is really a good job and what is maybe just trying to be nice with them. Then we have a group of players, and we must be aware that they are all different. And especially in those age groups, every year you try to look for new guys, and even later. I had experience in when I'm coaching with youth that sometimes we find out a player that was 17 years old. He was maybe 2 meters 10 tall, and he never played basketball. And the same thing can happen here. So you get a boy that is maybe 14 years old and he never played basketball. But you have a team that is already playing basketball for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years maybe. And they all know the basic of the basketball. But now we got one guy that is maybe very talented, but he never played basketball. So we must involve that guy into the basketball. So this is, again, when we need to find that balance to bring new guys and different level of knowledge into one team. So to give everybody an equal chance to develop. And of course, in that stage, we need to recognize those that have better potential to become high-level players. With that subject, I just want to talk about also one very important thing. What I noticed in our country, I don't know how you have an experience. With those age groups, we have a lot of young coaches, young, new coaches who thinks that if they will win a championship with under 10, under 12, or under 14, that they are good coaches. I would always say, you can win as many championships as you want, but if you don't produce any players, in the end, you are not a good coach for youth. When I worked in Slovenia with youth, basically the best result that we had was the 5th place in the championship. We never entered to the Final Four. We were always close, but never entered to the Final Four. But my goal was to have that continuity when you work with youth. Continuity, so be there at the top, but so that you have a good competitive level, but the first goal is to develop players. And in that season, when we were 5th, we were short for basket difference. So we have the same score as the team that went to the Final Four, but we were short. But why? Because that was when I said, I discovered a guy, 17 years old, he was 2 meters 10, he needs a lot of attention, and I need to put him into the game. And what I did some games, even if he was 2 meters 10, I put him to play point guard for 5-10 minutes on the game. And you know, this was under 18. So maybe we lost 2 or 3 games because of those things, or because he got more playing times. And especially those guys, I see that they suffer because coaches wants to win instead of to develop those players. I go to some games, I see guys that are really potential, because the first thing what you look is the size, yeah? The height of the player. So we play basketball, usually we look for tall players. And what I see, most of the tall guys, they're sitting on the bench. And there are, I would say it like this, and then you have 5 football players on the court. They will be the same in 2 or 3 years that they are right now, maybe when they are under 13 or under 14. And this is the problem that I see it from that. So when you're working, or when you go back and to talk with your coaches, try to emphasize those things. But it's just like Coach said earlier, we coaches on games, we must see also other things, not just scoring. And this is the same thing what we must see. I don't know if you work for federation, and then you'll go and you will speak with coaches, then emphasize those things. Prize coaches that will develop players. say, oh, this coach did a really good job because from this club we have this and this and this player who is now playing on that and that level, and so on. Not just the one that won under 12 championship with, as I said earlier, 5 maybe football players. Okay, we must be aware that ball, with that I mean basketball, and games are basic in youth basketball. Involve that always in your practices. But again, I won't talk about that because we hear a lot of those things earlier. I already said quite a lot about individual development must be higher rated goal than getting a result with youth, just previous. Involve all players in practice and games, the same very important thing. We heard that also earlier. If you don't involve somebody, he will quit. He must have a role in the team. Everybody must have a role, and not just on the practice, but also on the game, and especially with those age groups. Educate them in sporting spirit and be a positive example as a coach. As I said earlier, we spend with them every day important moments of their life. For some of them, they don't have role models like we heard earlier, Paul Gasol or maybe Kobe Bryant, but maybe we as the coaches, we are role models. Because maybe with 10 years old, some of them, they don't watch so much basketball. But we are those that must also get them to do that also, to get new role models. But maybe on the first moment, we are those. So we must be good example. So first we start, for example, being on time on practice. If we are late on practice, they can be late for sure. If we don't come prepared, they don't have to come prepared for practice. And I also noticed one thing with kids or whoever. They all like discipline. You know, you have young coaches and they think when they will start coaching, they will come to the practice, that they want to be loved by them, that they will just, I don't know, give them the ball to play a lot and that they will like them. Yes, for maybe 14 days, 3 weeks, 1 month. But then they will just get bored. They will say, oh, we don't work anything, we don't improve, we don't learn anything. So we must be aware of those things. And we must be aware that, for example, if we will put a discipline from the first day in, they will have all that later, and they will enjoy practices. I had, in my club that I used to work, we had 2 different coaches with that. One who had really good discipline and everything, and one who was like this, as I told you. And what happened? The one that had discipline, in 2 months, he had more kids than at the beginning of the season, because others came also. They said they enjoy the practices, and they enjoy the discipline. They enjoy being there, being involved in that team, because what? Everybody had their role. Everybody matters, because it doesn't matter if the best player were late or, how to say it, maybe the one that is not really good in basketball. They were the same rules. And then there was the other coach who maybe prized more those players that were more successful in the game in that moment, that sometimes he came late to the practice. They enjoyed at the beginning, but in 2 months, his number split to half. He was struggling to have 12 players to go to the games because of those things. Ensure an appropriate relationship to the players' obligations in the school. When we work with those young kids, we don't know who will be a professional player or who will maybe just play basketball for fun. So we must also emphasize that the good job in school is also very important. And if we will teach them this now, they won't struggle later. And if we teach them this now, when they will be older, they will be more organized also. And also from my personal experience, you can combine everything. You can combine school and you can combine also 2 practices per day, every day. And some of those kids that emphasize those things in early phase, they won't have any problems in the school. But again, it's our role to emphasize those things and to put also high, or how to say it, that it is important how they will be doing in school. So that you take care of the school. Not, that somebody's coming and he said, oh, my mom said I'm not allowed to come to practice because I didn't do this, or I got a bad grade or whatever. Yes, you're not allowed. And next time you will bring me, how you improved, if everything is good in school. And not just this. You must take care of those things earlier so that that doesn't happen at all. Because they will know from the first day that you care of those things. And those that like basketball, they will know that they must do good school, good job also in school to come to the practice. And that then the practice is something that they want. Not something that, that we try to, oh, please come to the practice, and stuff like this. No, they must want it to come to the practice. So with all of those things, we do those things. Because they see the practice is not something that is always there, but can also be taken away from them if they won't follow the rules or if they won't do good things in school. So this becomes something valuable for them. So it's one thing that they want it, and that they want it as every day, as regular. And they don't want to miss anything, because they know that every time when they will get there, or if they won't be there, they will miss something. And for the last, I will just go once again, from among players, find suitable candidates for future coaches, reporters, judges, and so on. This is maybe the topic that is not really appropriate for 10 to under 14, but immediately after that stage, you can also see some players that maybe don't have maybe too much potential to be players on high level, or players that don't show a lot of interest to be professional players, but they maybe just come to practice because some of their friends is there, maybe because they like basketball, but they don't have a desire to compete on the higher level. So we try to give them other roles also. So maybe sometimes when the older team will play games, they will be there to do some stats. They will do score sheet. They will help us as managers on the practice sometimes to involve players maybe from different age group into a different age group as team members. So how this is one way, maybe one chance or one idea how you can also involve others and to keep them in basketball for later. And as I said, we don't necessarily must like everybody, but we must treat them equally. And we must treat them fairly. And as I said, not just those that are potentially high-level players, because with those that we have them there is maybe somebody that is potential, how we want all of those to have them more sponsor. You never know. And if he will have a good experience in early age, he will come back to us and support us and give something back what we gave to him. This topic I won't stop for a long time, but just shortly, that periodization is also important, but not doing it before under 14. It's under 10, under 12, and these are different subjects. But in under 14, you start doing those things also, because this is the level when they are going to the next level. So they go to play under 16, they go to play under 18, and some of the players that are playing under 14 are also involved in older teams. So there is that transition from basket that have maybe less rules, that have less team tactics involved, to that more and more of those things are getting involved in. So I divided that periodization only in 3 steps: the preseason, season, and off-season. Basically, in all 3, we emphasize a lot of individual technique, individual tactic work, in all 3. But there is a different amount of everything. And also, when I speak during the season, we work a lot of technical, tactical training, and with analyzing practices and games, we try to teach them again concept. It's different. Don't think that now we focus with those teams on set offenses or some complicated senior things, but just to teach them the basic concept of the game. To teach them also some special situations. With special situations, I'm talking about, for example, like tip-off situation at the beginning of the game. We need to work also on those things. We need to more and more involve them that they really know the rules. Now maybe you will say, oh, but they know the rules. They should know the rules. They are now playing basketball maybe for 4, 5, 6 years, but they are not. I met players that was maybe 15, 16 years old and they didn't know the rules. And then you must ask yourself, how many times you emphasize those things? How many times you practice like special situations? Don't think like not something big, but I told you, just to introduce them, what is a tip-off, how they stand, where they play after the tip-off. Because I went to the game under 14 and I saw they after the tip-off, they went to their own baskets. And not only once. So I was imagining that maybe they didn't talk about that, not talk, but they didn't work on those things, maybe on practice also. And now finally, go through the technical and tactical elements for players. I won't talk about everything, because then we would need to be here the whole time. I prepare you, the whole day. I prepare you also a written document where you will have all elements that we work on, maybe more in Slovenia, or that I work also more through the different phases and the concept, how to do it. Be careful, okay, because there is everything. There is also like, there is a lot of talking about pick and roll. There is also pick and roll in. But don't think that pick and roll is for under 10, under 12, under 13 and so on. But it must be introduced. This is my opinion. It must be introduced where they are under 14. Because they are playing with under 16, and it's under 16 they are playing also pick and roll. But not just some basic thing just on 2-on-2. But pick and roll with everything, and also with spacing, how other players are getting involved. Then on pick and roll, different defenses. Why not to say on pick and roll we switch everything? Also to practice those things. So that they switch screens and teach them how to do those things. Not just to play pick and roll or to defend pick and roll. But to use those maybe advanced elements to teach them all aspects of the game. That doesn't necessarily mean that we will use that as our basic offense, or that we will run the pick and roll. But we are obligated, this is my opinion, that we must teach them all the things. It's just like with, for example, you have cross step and you have open step. And when you analyze players, you see a lot of times that maybe one player, if he'll go right, he will always use cross step. If he will go left, he will always use open step. First thing, I would say, okay, they didn't work on those things a lot when he was younger. Then he just developed because this was more natural for him. Then you will see, this is one thing. Then the other thing is, he pick up that because he feel more comfortable maybe in those things. And this will end up with everybody. Even if we will practice everything, if we will practice open step, cross step, spin, whatever, if we practice, they will choose some things out. It is also when you work, I don't know, with post players, with post moves. You teach them different finishes, different post moves, but then they will pick up or they will have two basic moves. All the players. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't know other things, but they feel more comfortable at those, and they are also more successful in those. But we must teach them all different. So first thing is, now it's technique without the ball. Then technique with the ball, when we divide it into dribbling, passing, and receiving, shooting, and layups. All of those segments that I will go now through, you have more in details in that paperwork that I will give you. And two of them, I will explain you how it works and more in details go through. Then the next one is individual tactical elements. 4, perimeter offensive moves and post offensive moves. Okay? Here I will stop a little bit with those moves. We have, with under 14, we can say this player will be a guard, this player will be post player, this player will be wing player, this player will be shooting guard, or whatever. We need to develop all aspects of their game. And that means for everybody to know or to have perimeter moves and to have post moves. Who said that guard can use post moves? But from my experience working with seniors, you get a guard who is maybe 6'4", that's 192, and maybe in the league there is not a lot of those kind of guards. But he can easily be guarded with somebody who is just 180. Why? Because he doesn't know how to play maybe with the back to his basket. But if he would know how to do that, he would be for sure more successful, because then you can run some plays for him to get under the basket and to use that advantage and to attack his defender. Maybe his defender is one of their best players in offense on opposite team. So what, we can, if he would be able to do that, we can attack him on the post, maybe get him in a foul trouble, and we did our job. But that job must be done earlier. When we work with seniors, it's hard to do on those things. They miss a lot of things that they should done already. So that's why always work perimeter and post move. And then the second thing that I see even more important, they will say no post moves for under 14. Why not? Or why yes? I would say yes, because there is involved a lot of pivot moves. A lot of pivot moves that are the same pivot moves that when you use a perimeter player. So when the post player gets the ball under the basket, he's pivoting. And when the perimeter player gets the ball, he's pivoting. And there is more those pivot moves when we teach post players moves involved. This is the first thing. Then the second thing, players play closer to the basket on practice, maybe one-on-one. What that means, they are more successful. So from motivation point of view, can be also a good teaching point. And then the third, for me also very, very important reason, is that they get used to the contact. They get used to the contact and how to use their body. So why not to do both things? Let's just say, oh, no, post. And if we practice those things, that doesn't mean that then we play with post. We can have offense with 5 guys out. With 4 guys out, we play, I don't know, 4 on 4. We don't have to play with post players, but that they know how to use those moves. Or if they get in situation on the post, they know how to react there. Individual defense, just to go through the basic things. Stance, movement, closeout, containment defensive movement, and defensive rebounding on the ball and off the ball. Okay? First thing, stance, movement, and positioning. This is, I would say, defense is the easiest of all the individual technical elements or tactical elements. Because the biggest part, if they have those fundamentals, is in their head. So if, I would say like this, defense, everybody, you can put a defensive system. Now just go again to imagine go on a higher level. You can put defensive system into any team in 2 months, the most. You see when senior teams get together, they get together in April, they start the season late in September, and they're only new players maybe. Or you have 4 or 5 players from last season, then you have new players. Or you have a new coach. But when he will put the system in, he won't need more time. But it will be much easier if those players will know the basics. So if players will be capable to do the fundamentals, then it's no problem to put any system in. And we are responsible for that we teach them those fundamentals. So that they know what is stance, that they know the balance, that they know, and it's, you need, what is important with it? You need 5 minutes to tell them those things, but then emphasize it each practice. So for example, not to use hands. I see most of the players that are playing defense with hands all the time. Position of the body, where to be. So if offensive player is there, that my head is on the ball. You can have different things. I try to emphasize those things. The head is on the ball. Then if the ball is on the left side, then my left hand is attacking crossover move. Why crossover move? Because the crossover is the fastest change. So force them to do between the legs, behind their back, spin moves, so you slow them down already with this. You don't have to reach for the ball. Just you are there, present. Then the other hand is there, if the ball is this side, so if the ball is on this side, then that means that that pass will go to this side, left side. So this hand is on a passing lane. Because if he wants to pass to the other side, he must turn his shoulders. So that they recognize those things. These are little things, but they must understand them. Not just go on practice, play defense one-on-one, and then scream on them, you don't play defense. If they don't know how to play it. Maybe just the position of the player is different. And this is the small thing. But introduce them, and then when you practice, you emphasize those things. And it's just the basic moves. Not the rotations or stuff like this, but just how to play proper defense on the ball. This is right now the important thing. And fundamental tactics, we have offensive tactics and defensive tactics. We divide tactics into individual tactics, group tactics. Group tactics, that means that include 2, 3 players, up to 3 players. And then we have team practice that involves more players. Okay, beside basketball technical and tactical things, we also do stretching and strength and conditioning. Again, don't get me wrong now. This is not stretching or strength and conditioning that we do with seniors. With this, the most important thing is, for example, with stretching, that we just get them to that habit that this is also important. I would always say that maybe sometimes you even don't need stretching for kids. You know, and you also see that when you have young kids, or they can start playing immediately. They don't need a long warm-up. They don't need a lot of stretching things. But we also know that if we won't do that now, it will hurt them later. It hurts me. This is the only thing that I can go apart. We always get the ball when I was younger, and we just started to play. And now my knees are hurting, my groins are hurting, because we didn't do those things earlier. And don't do it for, like, when you do now with senior teams, you do stretching like 8 minutes. And of course, right now it's different. Dynamic stretching is now, it's no more static stretching that you don't cool down after the first warm-up. Just do it maybe for 2-3 minutes. But that they understand that this is also part of our practice, is part of the game, to get warm up, to get properly ready for the game, to prepare your body to do that. And on that part also, not just this. Okay, I don't know, you go there, stretch, and then coach go away and they do whatever they want, they talk, they stretch. No, you are there. For those 2-3 minutes, give them 3-4 drills, but then correct them. That they will also know, with those small basic things, to execute them right. Not just to do it, but to do it with a purpose, again. With strength and conditioning, it's basically the same story, but maybe we would say also, it would be wrong if I would say more important. Because also stretching is important, because stretching is that balance between that practice and maybe later injuries. And strength and conditioning is the same thing in that age group. Because you just go to prepare them first to do those things later, and what is more important, to do those things later in a correct way. Because you know how it happens. You don't do that at all with under 14, maybe neither with under 16. Then those players suddenly get involved maybe in senior teams or under 18. And they have a good program, and they have everything. They have strength and conditioning coach. They have everything what they should have. But they have never did those things earlier. Not the same things. Don't get me wrong, not heavy weights or treasures, but just maybe to do some strength and conditioning with their own weight. Like abs, push-ups, back exercises, on just those basic things. And then they will get there, and then strength and conditioning coach will get them. He will say, oh, he is weak, he needs to work on those things. And in 1 month, he will be injured. And he will have back problems, he will have knee problems, and maybe some of the players will have really serious problems for later. Because they were not used to it, and now they want to do it everything in 1 month. So it is important that we introduce them with those things, with the basic strength. And the more important thing is what it says here, coordination and balance boards. Because with those things, we develop one ability that I found it in basketball, the most, comparing to other sports, that we needed more, coordination. Because why? For example, when you play football, you mostly use your legs. You use your legs, you dribble, you shoot the ball with your legs and everything. For basketball, you need a good coordination of lower body and a good coordination of upper body. And what is even more complex is that you need a really good coordination between lower and between upper body. So that's why we need to develop those things. And again, if we don't do those things, later you will get a player who maybe can shoot well, who has a lot of potential, but he can't run. He can't run at all. He doesn't know how to run properly because he was never taught that. So we need to teach them basic things first. First they need to run, then they can play in the end of the day. If they can run, they can play. So here is now one of those experts that I said earlier, and I put their picture on a side of a guy that is what I was trying to tell you right now. So you see, what do you see, what is wrong? It is this picture. And there is no wrong answers. I always said if I ask something and you answer, it's no wrong answer, because we coaches, we have our opinion. We see different things. Maybe you see something different that I see, but there is no wrong answer. Maybe there is just different answer that I have it. So don't be afraid to say it. What is maybe one I would say like quite big mistake? Yeah, he's sitting, yeah. He's sitting. So just one thing. We emphasize also that he must do proper work with his hands when we work those things, but he's still sitting. So everything he's doing, fine, but he's sitting. So now we need to correct those things. So later when you will see him in the game, how he's running like this, because he doesn't know how to run without the ball first. So when we do those drills, to teach them the correct execution of that. So this is what is about what I said about the running technique. Okay? When you do work on those things, you can always involve also a ball. It's a good thing because what I said earlier, we need a good coordination between upper and lower body. Not just lower or not just upper, but good between upper and lower body coordination. So involve the ball. You all know the speed ladder, yeah? Or coordination ladder, or however you call it. This is a very interesting equipment to use it. They love it. Everybody loves it. And it's really good to develop their footwork. And then again, use ball with it. And you can just do those things 2-3 minutes a day, maybe 2-3 times a week, and there will be a lot of progress. But when they're doing those things, again, we are teachers. And we are there to correct those mistakes. So if we see one mistake, we need to correct them. Not to do it wrong and wrong and wrong again. You said if somebody starts to play basketball, to practice regularly when he's under 10, then when he will be under 16, he will be already practicing 6 years. Now you can imagine how many hours is this, how many days is this, how many maybe wrong repetitions is this. And if they will automate those movements, then we won't be able to correct them anymore. Or if we will want to do that, we will need much, much, much more time than just to teach them the correct movement at the beginning. So the details, teaching, are also very important from the beginning. In the end, I wrote acrobatic. Okay? Maybe you are laughing, or no, I'm joking, but you know, acrobatic, why to do those things? You know that when we play basketball, you are maybe in a room, I would call it now a room or a space. You need to do quick reactions react, go one way, then another way, maybe jump, maybe you're on the ground, you must stand up fast and then run the different direction. If you do those things, you will develop also how they will be coordinated, say like this, or how will react in space also. And then why I say that? Because we did, for example, some parts of those with under 16 national team. And there were only 2 guys out of 20 players that were able to do like rollover, you know it? Well, you know what? Yeah, two players that they can do that. Nobody else. And that's why, you know, and if we develop those things earlier, they won't have any problems to do that. And what is the other thing? Why they couldn't do those things also? What was one reason? Because they were afraid to fall on the ground. You know, when they do rollover and they fell on the ground, they were afraid to do that. So one of the things is, because, you know, you will always say, we need to teach players that they will always hustle for the ball. That maybe they will go down on the floor if needed. But how they will go if they are afraid to go down? Because, you know, if the ball is there, somebody will pick it up. Why I would do that? And this is the habit that we need to teach early. Maybe you can think now with yourself why I'm talking those things. When you were younger, or when we were younger, okay, we were not afraid to do anything. Okay? We were jumping out of the cliffs into the water, I don't know, parachuting or whatever. But right now, if we do those things, we think about those things. We don't do it just go there and do it. You know, because you have maybe more experience and you know that something bad can happen and you're not used to those things. And when you know that when you will fall down, maybe can hurt or whatever. So if we develop that, or if we teach them that habit early, they won't have any problems. And this is not a big thing, but can be a big thing for later if we don't teach them that early. So that's why to include also those things. And especially for those age groups, younger groups, if you involve some other things into the practice, they enjoy it. And they like it, and they know that on your practices, maybe there will be always something new. Once I brought to the practice in the preseason one lady to do aerobics. And it's great, they had fun and they worked hard. Because maybe if some of you try those things, you will see it quite exhausting. It's not like you're watching, oh, some ladies are jumping there, but it can be right exhausting. There were some players, they couldn't do it. But we did what, for example, I wanted as a coach, and they had fun with it, and they do it again, instead of just maybe running or to do some different things. And then after the season, maybe do some other sports also, especially with those younger categories, to develop all of those things, coordination, how to react in space, and also to develop some other muscles. Because, just one example, we play basketball, let's say the whole season, okay? And we usually play also defense, and so you go in stance, and you should have quite strong gluteus and those muscles. But after the season, and you didn't do that during the year, go and play tennis. And play tennis, I don't know, for an hour, hour and a half. Then everything will hurt you here, and you will say, well, but why? I was playing basketball whole year. I should be in shape, and now I can't walk the next day because all of my muscles are hurting. Yes, because you only use those muscles that are needed for I don't know, for basketball. And yes, you must develop those. Now some of you would say, why to use others? Because the balance is also very important. And if the balance is not good between the strength of the muscles, you can get injured easily. So this is maybe other thing. Don't get me wrong. Don't play now tennis the whole year, but maybe to play tennis during the off season. First, to get psychological break, and then the second thing, to develop some other muscles. Okay, fundamental tactics in offense. First, the most important is individual for those age groups. So you have offense one-on-one and offensive rebounding. Both things are important. Again, not just to teach them the correct technique of execution of both elements, but also to teach them habits, especially with the second one. You know, now again, two examples of maybe not doing good job with those age groups is with rebounding and with non-shooting fouls. How many times you read, I don't know, the quote from the coach in the newspaper after the game, and he said, yeah, we lost the game because we said at the beginning that we will do every quarter, we will do 4 non-shooting fouls, but the guys didn't listen to and do those things. I read that a lot of times. But how many times they practice those things to develop that habit? And exactly the same thing is with rebounding. And then you will say, when you get player, I don't know, you have different senior players, and you will have 3 that are really good in crashing the boards. Really good. They will always go for offensive rebound. And then you will have 2 players that they will never go. But then you will see that maybe those 3 players were coached by some other coach, and they emphasize those things a lot. So they develop that habit to do those, to go for offensive rebound. And all of you, for example, now just go through, how many of you are emphasizing those things a lot? I know that, from my experience, I know that most of you who are working with under 14, you are there alone on practice. You don't have assistant coaches. So it's hard always to focus on everything. But as we need to teach them habits, we need to prepare ourselves for practice, to have some habits for every single practice. So, for example, one thing that I didn't mention with those things is communication. Okay. Usually, how I was like this. When we started the season, I always emphasized that a lot. But then, you know, because you were alone, you forget to do those things a little bit because you're focusing on other things. But they don't communicate anymore. They forget that also. So now I train myself also to focus on that every time. So the simplest drill that we do, you always emphasize those basic things. Group tactics, we said it's group tactics. It's involving 2, 3 people. It's like getting open, cutting, crossing with the ball, pick and roll, and pick and pop. Don't pay too much attention on this, but I said I put it in because you need to introduce that also when they're under 14. Crossing with the ball, screens off the ball, game in triangle, and offense, basic offense, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, and 3-on-2. Okay? We all know that. We all know those elements. We all know those things to emphasize or to put them in the game. But now, the next thing that is important, how we do those things. Do we teach them the correct way? Getting open. Go to the game, see the coach, get open, get open, get open. And the guy is running up and down, up and down, and up and down, and he can't get open. Then you ask yourself, was his coach show him how to get open if defense is guarding like this? Or he's just getting open. Get open. Doesn't matter how. He doesn't know how to get open. He's trying. He's doing his best. He's running. He's working hard, but he doesn't know how to get open. He doesn't maybe know to attack his up shoulder, to attack his upper leg, or if he doesn't allow him that, what to do. So with all of those elements, we must show them, teach them, then we can expect from them to use those things. And even when you will do those things, then you need to put them in that situation many times in practice. From the beginning, you put them in the situation and defense is passive. Or just to practice maybe on swim move, to try to get into the man and then try to get open. Or to understand maybe how to get open with V-cut. Because what I said earlier, somebody is just running up and down, but he's running on his line, up and down. And if defense is smart, he's just staying him and he's running up and down with him. And he can get the ball. But if you give him just maybe some basic things, just to say, when you go down, just cross his line. Cross the defensive line when you will go up. Maybe he will have more chances and he will be in better situation to get open next time. And then the next step, tell him to attack front foot, front shoulder, go into him, get that contact, and then cross his line. So then you will get that advantage. And what I found the most interesting is that those kids, they learn really, really quick. Especially if they hear or they see something for the first time. Next practice, they will know it. Sometimes I'm surprised. They learn those things quicker and easier than older players or senior players. Why? Because they don't have those movements yet. They don't know, and for them this is something new. That's why I told you, the basketball has a really wide aspects of element and then later phases some details. And players expect from us to show them those things. And as I said earlier, to get out of each practice better than they were before the practice. And then they will feel satisfied, they will feel happy, they will feel motivated because they will know, oh, today I'm better. I know this now. It's just like in school. In school they also have a program and they go through that program systematically and in the end of the year they will know something. Some of them more, some of them less, and it's just the same thing with basketball. Team tactics, early offenses, set offenses, offenses against transition defense, special situations. Okay, now when you read this, you will say, whoa, 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 this is like almost for seniors. What is this now? Set offenses, offenses against transition defense, special situations. This is everything on a simple, basic level. But they need to know, and as I already talked about some special situations. You will say, what special situations? This is for seniors, you have special plays, you have those things. But these are simple things. These are basic rules. After or at tip-off, at free throws, when inbounding the ball, that they know what to do when those things happen on the game. And maybe now when I'm talking this to you, you just say, oh, this is obvious, or normal, this is normal. It is not. With under 10, with under 12, it's not. And those things, maybe you need to repeat it a few times, because maybe we started the season, then you were going around the schools, you were looking at the school competitions, and you find a new guy. And he plays in a school game, but maybe he is not playing basketball. He just playing for that school, but he's playing maybe handball. Okay? But you see a lot of potential in him, so you would like to get him. So he will come now to the practice. He doesn't know anything about the rules of basketball. He knows how to play handball, but he doesn't know anything about the rules of basketball. So you must put him in the game, because otherwise you will lose him. Even if this is one, like, you would say not maybe a very important thing. It doesn't matter if he knows the rules and he doesn't. He won't quit basketball because of that. But yes, he can. Because he will come there and he won't know what to do. and then he will do travel, because in handball you're allowed to do 3 steps, and he would just look, why is this a travel? Nobody told me that. You will work with him how to dribble the ball, what is a travel, but everything, but you didn't show him those things, or you didn't explain him this is the difference between handball and basketball. Set offenses. These are not set offenses as offenses in senior basketball. So it's not the example of horns like coach earlier showed. But you can have some motion offense that is set offense. So you have some basic rules in that offense. I have at the end of that presentation, I will show you some basic rules how to put some set offense, motion set offense into, for example, under 14 age group. How you can run that offense. Okay. Now, basic goals for under 8. You will say under 8, but the topic is from 10 to 14. I put this in just shortly because this is the age group that is maybe the most important one. Especially if this is the age group, the first age group when they will be introduced to basketball, or how to say it, we call it, in this age group, we call it playful basketball. Because here, it depends if they will then be able to go on a higher level to play mini basketball, to play basketball, or they will quit. And sometimes, you know, I was thinking to have some issues. Is it sometimes good to start so early with basketball? And why I had that issue? Because if you do a mistake in this age group, maybe you will struggle later to repair that. And maybe you can lose some players that might be really potential for be a really good players on really the top level, but because we didn't do our first approach was not right, we lost those players. You know how they are kids. They will come, and if they don't like it, they will go somewhere else, especially nowadays. So that's why I said that this age group is sometimes very important, because you also know you have players that started to play basketball when they were 15, 16, 17 years old, and they are now playing top level. So that's why I said here, sometimes with me, the only issue is if we don't do it right. So that's why those programs, if we are running those programs must be run really professional. And I would say that for those age of groups, we would need the most experienced coaches, the coaches that know how to deal with kids, and not coaches like about what I spoke earlier that are just maybe trying to get some result. Because also in those age group, you see somebody is put to coach under 8, he said, oh, I'll just do this for 1 year just to get higher. And then they think that they need to do something differently. But this is not their job in that age group. So the basic goals here are just to build a positive attitude to sport, to develop basic fundamental motoric skills and movements in sport. You see that here I use the word sport. And I would say also we use, in Slovenia, we use sometimes the expression games with ball. You know, they don't, and when they come first, they don't think then, oh, it's basketball. Because, you know, you have also parents, they maybe, oh, this is basketball, we won't do it. But what if these are games with balls? Then they will come, and when they will see that they can have fun, they enjoy there, they will stay. And then you start, you know, using basketball as a word. And then they will stay in that. Develop a collectivity and sporting spirit. You know that, we all know that basketball is a team sport. And maybe whoever comes the first time to basketball practice might struggle with that collectivity, that there are also others involved, that there are more people playing with just one ball. Because, you know, they will come and maybe they never play team sport. I said team sport because, and now what will happen? They don't know how to get involved in those things. So we need to emphasize those things a lot. Participate in various competition, technical basic elements, and one-on-one and two-on-two games with passive defense, of course. And important also is that we use small baskets, small balls. Why? Because they are more successful. Everybody wants to score a basket. Everybody wants to be on, I don't know, to go home and say, oh, I scored a basket. Even I said with free throws, not now for under 8, but for example, under 12 or whatever. Why not to move them even closer? And if the basket is lower and the ball is smaller, they have more chance to shoot it. Why I'm thinking like this? Because, you know, sometimes players are struggling with free throws. And then I was thinking, why? Maybe the reason is because when they were younger, they were put on that line and they were really unsuccessful. And what is happening? Somebody is shooting free throw and he can't throw the ball to the rim. And then everybody are laughing, you know, and making fun of this. And so next time when he will come to that line, this won't be a reward for him. And a free throw should be a reward for a player. You are there. This is the only shot where there is no defense. And the only shot that you are shooting it always from the same spot. But then in the end of the day, this is for them, it's like a punishment to get on the free throw line. Okay, I will skip now those goals. You have all those goals also on the paper for different age groups because we are shortly out of time and we'll go to the next. Uh, 5 minutes? Okay. Basketball training. This is now one example of how to plan, shortly plan, for one age group basketball training. And from all of those technical elements that you will get in that paperwork, to choose one and to go methodically through them. So, I just did an example on under 10. So it's playing one-on-one on one basket. So you have methodical sequences, dribble, shots, crossovers, defending the player with the ball, offense one-on-one, fast break 1-on-0. So these are those basic segments that we emphasize in that age group. And one-on-one play is a fundamental element in basketball. I think that we all agree with that. So we put a lot of focus on that. And then this is not just playing one-on-one, for example, one-on-one from the spot, from the top of the basket. Put them in different situations. So that means playing one-on-one off the dribble, from the half court, for example. He starts off the dribble, not from the spot. Then he's playing one-on-one from 45, on top, 45, corner. It's different situation. Then he plays one-on-one in the corner when defense is on the right side, left side. When defense is on the right side, it's again different situation. Then next phase, playing one-on-one after getting open. It's again different thing. But always it's not just one-on-one, but playing one-on-one in different situations. So, for 2-on-2, on one basket, still for under 10, passing, catching the ball, getting open and cutting, defending the player without the ball, set offense with 2 perimeter players, and fast break 2-on-1. So everything what we did on 1-on-1, we now try to emphasize or to build up on 2-on-2 game. And as I mentioned earlier, when we start to play 2-on-2, you come to that element, playing 1-on-1 again after getting open. Playing 1-on-1 after cutting. For example, I pass the ball, I cut under the basket, I get the ball. I stop there, maybe I use a dribble, but then I stop. Defense is in front of me. But there is still playing 1-on-1 under the basket with no dribble. So this is the difference here. So with only pivoting under the basket, you know, this situation can happen. You beat your man, post player is helping, you must play then with him under the basket. To put them in those different situations. And always, also, even though in that age group there is not so big difference, but there it is still, always mismatch situations. When they play 1-on-1, one, like, let's say small, one big. Small, big, they get used to those things also. Playing 3-on-3 on one basket. So here we introduce them with set offense with 3 perimeter players, just with cutting, with under 10. We don't use screens, just cutting, playing 1-on-1. Then we have transition to set offense and 3-on-3 game on 2 baskets. So this is the first time when we introduce them to play on 2 baskets, and the same thing is with playing 4-on-4 on 1 and 2 baskets. So usually with under 10, the better way is to play just 4-on-4. And now for the last thing, just I told you I will give you an example how to make one, let's say, motion set offense for under 14 players. This is not like regular set offense, like we saw it by like horns, but it's the offense when we put the rules in. And it also, you have here quite a lot of different rules. And you don't put them all at once, but you put first 3 rules. For example, like perimeter player space outside the lane and post player space inside the lane. With that, we accomplish appropriate spacing, at least 4 or 5 meters. Okay? So they know spacing is important. 4 perimeter players apart 4 to 5 meters. First rule. And then immediately, you change, your spacing positions are different. For example, if the ball is on this side, or if the ball is on this side. So everybody moves with the ball. And if I dribble, spacing is different. So not that I dribble and they are standing, but always correct spacing. So it's the first rule, and emphasize that. Then the second one, perimeter players can pass, screen, and cut. So they know. And first we can say, after the pass, let's say, this is the first say, after the pass, you can screen and cut. Then we will say that also if you didn't pass, but if you are maybe away on a help side, you can also cut and screen, and then put the reason when he will cut. For example, we cut from the opposite side always when the post get the ball. And you can change those rules also, but to put some basic rules in. Then, let's say, after making a screen, always get open. Okay, you will see too many times that if those big guys that I was talking at the beginning, if they are playing, they are just setting screens. And this is, for me, this is totally wrong. Because they are those that must get touches. They are those that must play with the ball, and that means on perimeter and under the basket. And also, all the players must understand, when we put the screens in, that when you set a screen, the better screen you will set, the better the better chance you will have to get open, or you will get yourself to get the ball. If you don't do the screen at all, or if you do just a screen because you need to do it, that the screen is not good, you won't be able to get the ball, and maybe even your teammate won't be able to get the ball. But if you set a good screen, one will be open for sure. And if they will play really good defense or focus on your teammate, you will be open if you will get open after the screen. And if you will read the defense, that means that sometimes you will get open in, maybe you will step in, or you will pop out. But it's a different situation. Then maybe next rule, if the ball is dribbled at you, you go back door. So you can teach them how to recognize different dribbles. So for example, if I drive to the basket, they do spacing. If I dribble directly towards you, you go back door. If I go with power dribble, then it's a handoff. So to read those things, but just it's not that we play set offense with handoff. Okay, you pass there. We have Horn's offense, for example, with the pass to the 4, go for handoff, screen for a screener. It's not like this. But it is just set offense with some basic rules, that they recognize some situations on the court. That they recognize and they read those situations. So our job is to teach them and to prepare them to the higher level. So when next coach we get them, he will say, oh, those players, they know basketball. They know how to react. They know how to read different situations. Not just execute some maybe movement 1-on-0, but also to read situations in the game. Okay, if there are any questions, if not, thank you. See you later. Yeah.